Welcome to Hydrohaven's comprehensive guide on maximizing tomato harvests in less than ideal sunlight conditions. If you're like many gardeners, you've probably been told that tomatoes need full sun to thrive, at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily. But what if your garden is dappled with shade from nearby trees, fences, or buildings? Does this mean you should abandon your dreams of homegrown tomatoes? Absolutely not. With the right pruning techniques and a few clever adaptations, you can coax impressive harvests from partially shaded tomato plants. Let's dive into how you can make this happen in your own garden. Before we get into the pruning techniques, let's understand what happens to tomatoes in partial shade. When tomatoes receive less than optimal sunlight, they naturally stretch toward available light, becoming leggy and putting energy into foliage rather than fruit production. The plant is essentially trying to capture more sunlight by creating more leaves, a survival strategy that works against your goal of harvesting plump, juicy tomatoes. In partial shade, 3 to 5 hours of direct sun, tomatoes face several challenges: slower photosynthesis rates, reduced flower production, lower pollination success, and ultimately, fewer fruits. The fruits that do develop often take longer to ripen and may be smaller. However, with strategic pruning and care, you can redirect the plant's limited energy toward fruit production rather than excessive foliage growth. Single-stem pruning, also called single-leader or cordon pruning, is the secret weapon for shade-challenged tomatoes. This technique involves removing all side shoots or suckers to maintain one main growing stem. Here's why this approach is particularly effective in partial shade. Energy concentration is the key principle at work. By limiting the plant to a single stem, you're directing all available energy to the main growing tip and developing fruits along that stem. Rather than diffusing resources across multiple branches and leaves that won't receive adequate light anyway, you're creating a focused, efficient production line from roots to fruits. The benefits are numerous. Single-stemmed plants can be positioned to receive maximum available light. The reduced foliage improves air circulation, decreasing disease pressure, which is particularly important in shady, potentially damper locations. With fewer leaves to manage, the plant's limited photosynthesis capacity becomes dedicated to ripening fruit, rather than maintaining excess foliage. Additionally, the plant's resources aren't wasted on producing suckers that would struggle in low-light conditions. In my own north-facing garden bed that receives only morning sun, I've harvested over 15 pounds of tomatoes from 3 single-stemmed plants, while the unpruned plants in the same conditions produced barely 5 pounds each. The difference was remarkable not just in quantity, but in how much earlier the pruned plants began producing ripe fruit. Timing is crucial when implementing the single-stem approach. Begin your pruning regimen early, ideally when your tomato plants are still relatively small with just 4 to 6 true leaves. Starting early establishes the growth pattern before the plant commits significant energy to side shoots. For plants grown from seed, begin the single-stem training approximately 2 to 3 weeks after transplanting into their permanent growing location. For purchased transplants, give them about a week to recover from transplant shock, then begin the pruning process. Early intervention prevents the plant from investing precious energy into growth you'll just remove later. It also allows the plant to adapt its growth patterns to the single-stem approach from the beginning. Remember that in partial shade, every bit of the plant's energy is precious. Don't let it waste resources on growth that won't contribute to your harvest. Identifying and removing suckers correctly is the cornerstone of successful single-stem pruning. Suckers are the small shoots that emerge in the crotch between the main stem and a branch. These ambitious little growths would eventually become full branches if left unpruned, diverting energy from your main fruiting stem. To find suckers, examine your plant carefully, looking in the angles where leaf stems meet the main stem. New suckers are often partially hidden by larger leaves, so gently move foliage aside during your inspection. In partial shade conditions, check your plants twice weekly, as suckers can grow surprisingly quickly even with reduced light. When removing suckers, pinch them out while they're still small, under 2 inches. This causes less stress to the plant than removing larger suckers. For tiny suckers, simply pinch them between your thumb and forefinger. For larger suckers, use clean, sharp pruners to make a clean cut close to the main stem without damaging it. Removing suckers in the morning allows the small wound to heal during the day, reducing disease risk. With all growth concentrated on one main stem, proper support becomes absolutely critical. Single-stem tomatoes can grow quite tall, often 6 to 8 feet or more, and become top-heavy with fruit. In partial shade, plants tend to stretch even more, seeking light. Strong vertical support enables you to position your plant to capture maximum available sunlight. I recommend using 8-foot sturdy stakes, concrete reinforcement mesh towers, or string trellising systems that can be adjusted upward as the plant grows. Whatever system you choose, ensure it's installed at planting time to avoid damaging roots later. Secure the main stem to your support every 8 to 12 inches using soft plant ties, strips of cloth, or tomato clips. Create a loose figure 8 with the tie, with the cross of the 8 between the plant and the support. This prevents stem damage as the plant grows. In partial shade, position supports to angle plants toward available light when possible. As your single-stemmed plant grows taller, continue to adjust ties and supports to maintain optimal light exposure. This ongoing adjustment is particularly important in partial shade situations where capturing every available ray of sunlight matters.